Meet Natural Cycles, the only FDA-cleared and CE-marked birth control app that's built around your body. The Natural Cycles app pinpoints your fertile days by tracking shifts in your temperature, so you can plan or prevent pregnancy naturally. It's easy to use. Simply take your temperature in the morning with our free Bluetooth thermometer included with our annual plan, or sync with your Oura Ring or Apple Watch. The app analyzes your data and tells you daily whether it's a fertile or non-fertile day. Natural Cycles is 93% effective with typical use and 98% effective with perfect use. But beyond effective birth control, the app helps you understand your body and cycle better than ever. And unlike some period tracking apps, Natural Cycles provides an advanced data protection program to keep your information private and secure. Ready to go hormone-free? Sign up for the Natural Cycles annual plan and get a free Bluetooth thermometer, plus 15% off your subscription with the code radio15 at naturalcycles.com.
Quote, who are the main guys behind MILB.com's Show Before the Show podcast? Answer, the main hosts of MILB.com's Show Before the Show podcast are Sam Dykstra and Benjamin Hill. Sam Dykstra is a reporter and writer for MILB.com covering minor league baseball. He provides insights, analysis, and updates on players, teams, and trends within the minors. Benjamin Hill is also a writer and the creator of Ben's Biz, covering the more offbeat and quirky aspects of minor league baseball, such as promotions and fan experiences. Together, they provide a combination of news, interviews, and fun stories about minor league baseball, making the podcast popular among fans of the sport. AI does not know that I exist. And I actually feel kind of okay about it. I'm kind of like, I'd like to stay out of the AI's brain.
You evaded the robots for now.
Yeah. So that's a screenshot. Ben sent us a screenshot. He asked, who was that? ChatGPT? Which one of these punk?
It was ChatGPT. Yeah, it was. You know the podcast Bat Flips and Nerds.
Yeah.
British baseball podcast. Good guys, and
love those guys.
We've have we had them on the show, or I've been on their show. Anyway, I just happened to see a stray tweet of theirs in which they asked that exact question, like, who are the main guys on the Bad Flips and Nerds podcast? And it did name all three guys, but one of them got short shrift. So I was like, what would it say about
taking a short shrift, dude?
Yeah, and then I went in and asked the exact same question just about our podcast, and there was complete and total Tyler Maughan erasure. Which is ironic because you were the person on this podcast. I mean, I've been there since the beginning as well. But
I'm the only OG left on this podcast. I mean, Sam was on our first episode, I believe.
Right. I was always on it, but
for
a long time, I just did like a standalone segment.
Right.
And you were the main host from the beginning. You have the most words spoken, the most hours logged. You do the producing, and yet... And yet,
you're lurking in the shadows.
Yeah. Here we are. And ChatGPT does not even realize I exist. But the good news is that means hopefully I'll have like an extra few minutes to be on the run when the computers come for us all. You two, like, you're already in the crosshairs. They know your names. They probably have like your blood type and everything. Like, they know everything. ChatGPT evidently does not know I exist. So maybe I'll be able to, I can hide out for a little longer.
When I do the podcast recap this week, I'm just going to use your full name on every reference.
No. The whole summary will just be Tyler Maughan.
Ben, Sam, and co-host Tyler Maughan.
Well, that's the first thing I wanted to rant about. The second thing I want to rant about is holiday related, and I'll just pose it as a dumb, pointless question, as most of our kickoff topics on the Show Before the Show are. But before I do that, thanks for joining us on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show, unless you are ChatGPT. We welcome you into the official podcast of Minor League Baseball. Sam Dykstra and Benjamin Hill, your two hosts, and the nameless third party on this episode as we cover all things MILB headed toward the holiday apex, the apex of the holiday season, the last week in December and on into the year 2025. You can get in touch with this podcast at MILB.com. I want you dudes to know that I have a dude for Name That Dude who was submitted to me via Instagram.
Okay.
From a Show Before the Show listener. So we have a dude and we have finally we've crossed the Rubicon into listener engagement for Name That Dude, which is very exciting. That's coming up at the end of the show today. But before we get to it, I just want to throw something out there. We're going to get into kind of a holiday feel. We're going to talk about our 3 favorite things from the minor league baseball season and the baseball season in general. What I would like to throw out to you dudes is a line from the song "It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year," in which they use the phrase, there'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. Who has ever sat around the old Christmas tree and told scary ghost stories? Huh? Have we talked about
Tyler,
this before?
Are you forgetting the sacred text that is Christmas Carol?
Do you consider that a scary ghost story?
Who are the spirits who appear but ghosts of Christmas past?
Yeah, but I think of a scary ghost story as and the murder victim who was hacked with an axe rose up and strangled the small child. I think of I got really dark at the end. I think of a scary ghost story as I don't know. That's what we're assuming that's in reference to? Is just
I would 100% assume that. And also, as somebody who used to get afraid of Muppet Christmas Carol for the way the doorknob would transform into Statler and Waldorf, who were the 2 Marleys, I think there are scary ghost stories to be told around this time.
I mean, that's a good theory. That's a good theory, and I think there's probably some truth in that. But I would also say that I don't know when that song was written, but it's many, many, many decades old. And, America was a simpler place. So when people got together, their entertainment options were a lot less limited. The NFL didn't play on Christmas Day.
True.
There wasn't screen time and everything.
That song was written in 1963, by the way. I would have figured that was much older.
Yeah, me too. So this is hurting my theory a little bit. So I just think it's like when people got together, there's just a more limited range of options of what to do. And, ghost stories, like ghosts, are year round. So you just might tell a ghost story around Christmas because you get together and you're looking for something to do and someone busts out the ghost stories. But Sam might be right. It might be a specific reference to Charles Dickens and Christmas Carol, but or maybe there's other lesser known ghost stories out there.
Okay, I am very excited to actually uncover something here. According to the Wikipedia entry for "It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year." First of all, I was gonna say maybe have some feel, Andy Williams. It was released in 1963. Christmas was a month after JFK was assassinated. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It was actually released in October, so we'll give Andy Williams a little bit of leeway there. According to a story from the
he didn't write that song the day JFK was assassinated.
He's like, hey folks, here's what I'm going to tell you about. Okay, according to a story from the Deseret News, which is I believe a Utah news outlet, the Christmas of scary ghost stories dates back to Victorian England. And it is one of the, quote, Victorian Christmas traditions, which has been almost completely lost from memories. British humorist Jerome K. Jerome, inventive name, wrote as part of his introduction to an anthology of Christmas ghost stories titled Told After Supper, quote, whenever 5 or 6 English-speaking people meet round a fire on Christmas Eve, they start telling each other ghost stories. Nothing satisfies us on Christmas Eve but to hear each other tell authentic anecdotes about specters. Did I say antidotes? Anecdotes, not antidotes. They're not talking about something that takes away a snake's poison. Authentic anecdotes about specters. So before the holiday, I want you guys coming up with some authentic anecdotes about specters. I don't want any invented anecdotes. I want authentic ones. And now you know. They could just be stories about the Casper ghosts. Those are the only ghosts that we have in minor league baseball, and they R.I.P. Very fitting that the Casper ghosts are dead.
I would just say this is like a traditional episode of the show before the show. It's been very educational when we're 5 minutes in.
Very educational. We haven't talked any baseball, and we're 5 minutes in. And with that, we dive into this week's episode talking about all things minor league baseball. And we are going to start with a look back on the year that was in 2024. And Sam, let's kick it off. You or Ben, who's kicking us off? Who's going with your 3 favorite things from the baseball season?
Let's go alphabetical, and we'll start with Ben.
Okay.
Do all 3 at once, or
Yeah, Yeah, let's do all three at
Yeah.
once.
All right. Yeah, it's tough, when there's just three things and you live a life in baseball. There's just so many things. I mean, Tyler is typing his things right now on our shared Google Doc, as I can see. In
I realized that I didn't put them in there earlier, so I was like, I guess I should probably enter mine.
case there's any overlap, because you might say, or you might have said, that one of your favorite things was when I was in Memphis and I did a chicken dance that brought the house down. Now, I chose this as one of my favorite things of the year. I mean, maybe it's a little arrogant. It's all about me, but it was really significant for me for two reasons. One, because that day I was sick. So this was like my Michael Jordan flu game. Was in Memphis on a road trip. This is in June, visiting the Redbirds for the first time in over a decade. And I felt awful. And it was one of the few times I felt like I might leave a ballpark before the game begins because I feel so bad. But, I had to reach down deep and keep going. And then the night sort of started going. And I was asked if I wanted to be in a between inning chicken dance. And not only did I pull off the moves really well, we got it on video. And so everyone could see how well it did. It was even part of my MLB network segment when I was last on the network in the studio. So it really made me feel good that I was able to rise to the occasion. But also, I had given up on doing that kind of thing, thinking I was too old and irrelevant to be the young man I once was and just get on the field. But the fact that I did that well and got a good reaction to it, I said, what I do is timeless and you're timeless. And it gave me the confidence as the season progressed and as my career progresses to still get out there and do a chicken dance, no matter how old I get, because I'm not going to get any younger. So that was important for me. What else did I put? I put Burlington post game. This is the Burlington Sock Puppets. I was there for one night. It was their season finale, regular season finale in August. Burlington Sock Puppets used to be the Burlington Royals in the Appy League, and now the Appy League is Summer Collegiate. They were rebranded as the Sock Puppets. I hadn't been there in the Summer Collegiate era until this year. And their crowd was phenomenal that night. If it wasn't a sellout, it was really close. And there was just people everywhere. It wasn't the greatest night for what I do because it was hard to find people to talk to because everyone was so busy and running around that it was so cramped. But it was a great energy. And at the end of the night, they had this guy named Whiff. I don't even know his real name, but like a professional fire eater, fire breather, pyrotechnic performer who did a pyrotechnic show at home plate, and then fireworks were shot off, and there were just staff members, the players' girlfriends, who knows, just like on the grass watching it with the smoke lingering in the air from the pyrotechnic show. A huge crowd in Burlington, North Carolina. And it was just a remembrance of the smaller town baseball I used to really like when it was part of the minor leagues. Those advanced rookie and Class A short season kind of vibes in older ballparks. We don't get that from the affiliated minors anymore, that real small town feeling. And I just felt good, about baseball in the summertime and about small town America on that night in Burlington, North Carolina. And I probably went to cookout afterwards and got a barbecue plate and some cheer wines. So, good night. Good night in Burlington, North Carolina. And then fine, I had to put it because I feel like how could I talk about my three favorite baseball things and not include the fact that, I got married at a minor league ballpark, Brooklyn Cyclones on August 5th. I still can't really pronounce the name of their ballpark, even though I got married at it. Maimonides. Maimonides. That's how I'm going to remember it from now on.
There we go.
To the tune of My Sharona, or actually to the tune of Weird Al's My Bologna, which is a parody of My Sharona. Anyway, before I go too down.
This is all to
basketball
avoid
game.
talking about your own wedding.
Yeah. Well, and then I said I'm going to write about it. I am going to feature in my newsletter or write an article about it at some point, but I don't like featuring myself sometimes. But we had beautiful weather. It was a beautiful venue. Sam Dykstra was there. He initially had it on his list of favorite things, I believe. Was Ben getting married at a minor league ballpark?
I had it around number 7.
Around number 7, yeah. I thought it was your number 1, honestly. But it was a memorable night. And the further I get away from it means the further I get out of my own head, because the night of, I was just it just was a blur, as people say about your wedding. And there were some things that I would have changed. And I think I was a little overly concerned about that kind of stuff, but gotten great feedback on it from the guests since then. And the pictures look great and everyone's smiling, and it's all the people that Jill and I not all of them, but a lot of people that we've known and loved for many years, all together at a minor league ballpark for old Ben's biz getting hitched.
I mean, it really was a fun time. And also we got to run the bases. I found out your brother is like a tremendous sprinter.
Yeah, my brother went to Princeton like because of track and field. Track, I guess the track portion.
Just the track.
I don't know how often he was on the field. Yeah, and now he's he's in his mid-30s, but he's still very fast. And at weddings and in public events, he also tends to bother people. And I always hear stories about like, oh, your brother, but he's a lovable character.
I think it revealed something about a lot of people where we all of a sudden realized we could go on the field. So some people started running the bases and acting like they hit a home run. I started going out to center field because I was just like, we have full access to everything. Why are we not just acting like we're playing center or robbing a home run? And I guess that it was the personality test of your wedding.
Yeah, it was. And it was kind of hinted like, yeah, we'll let some people on the field, but it wasn't like a part of the programming. And I wasn't necessarily expecting it at that magnitude. And also, as someone who works in baseball, I'm on fields quite a bit. I still like it and appreciate it, but it was a reminder that for other people, they're not on professional fields ever in a lot of cases. And just to see people really light up, as the cliche goes, and just the smiles of people running the bases, sitting in the dugout, using the dugout phone, et cetera, are some of the best shots from the wedding. And really made me realize what a good time people had, and people were having fun in the Coney Island night on October 5th, 2024.
All right. Well, you are writing about that soon, so people can steal some of your ideas for themselves.
For when they want to have a ballpark
Yeah,
wedding?
right,
Yeah, of course. I'll write a template for how to have a ballpark wedding. I'll include my do's and don'ts, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. The do is to invite all three of us if you do that. If you were listening to the show and you were getting married at a minor league ballpark.
Well, we were putting the invite list together, and I was trying to remember everyone I know in my life, and I wrote, who are the main guys in the show before the show podcast? And it just said you. So then I forgot to invite Tyler.
I was going to say, ChatGPT. Just, they're throwing everybody off.
I'm sorry, Tyler.
All right. So for my three things beyond Ben's wedding, which would have been much higher than number 7, but I wanted Ben to have his own highlight there. Number 1 for me has to be the Rickwood Field, not only game, but the road trip. I've talked about that. Excuse me. Plenty on the show before, but this is a year-end wrap-up. So I'm going to mention it one more time while 2024 is still on the calendar. Starting a road trip at Jackie Robinson Ballpark in Daytona Beach with myself and Kelsey Hennigan, and then going up to see the Jumbo Shrimp in Jacksonville and checking out a Negro Leagues museum up there, and then driving across, to Mobile, Alabama, and talking to Cleon Jones, the former Mets outfielder, about trying to keep the history of baseball alive there, and talking about Satchel Paige and how he grew up hearing the legends of Satchel Paige, and how that helped him become an eventual major leaguer, and how he's trying to get statues built to all the Hall of Famers who have come out of Mobile, and trying to pass that on to the next generation was really cool. Then making a pit stop in Montgomery, Alabama to visit with the Biscuits and check out their stadium for the first time, and then culminating at Rickwood Field in Birmingham, Alabama, for what we expected to be a very fun game and a really cool environment. And it was, and MLB did a really nice job of, not only making Rickwood Field ready for both a minor league game and a major league game, but making it feel like a real experience. You walked in there feeling the history of the place, but also realizing like this is up to 2024 standards. It was the perfect marriage of that. And, it's something that Ben, Kelsey, Josh, and I had been involved in for a little while, because we had pitched an idea of like, hey, let's get Rickwood back in the fold after the Rickwood Classic had been such a thing in the Southern League for years, that had gone away after the pandemic, only to find out it was already in the plans.
Yeah, we pitched that exact premise.
Yeah.
In an internal like MLB like brainstorming idea contest, whatever you want to call it. And we would have won, but we got second place because they said, well, we can't give the idea to something we're already going to do, but you guys are remarkable.
You're on the right track.
Yeah.
And we had pitched it as the Willie Mays Classic. And as we all know now, that week was treated as, in honor of Willie Mays and all he had done for the Birmingham area and how he had grown up wanting to play at Rookwood Field and eventually did with the Black Barons for a very short time. But he said a couple days ahead of time, I'm not going to be able to make it, and I'm really sad about that. And then being at the game itself between Birmingham and Montgomery, and I'm walking through the stands, and I get a text from Kelsey that Willie Mays has died, and the whole game just snaps into perspective. I was out in right field when that happened. Willie Mays was an outfielder. During that game, Chandler Simpson, who was a Black player from the South, he's from the Atlanta area, who went to University of Alabama, Birmingham, and then transferred to Georgia Tech. He was having a really good game and showing off really good speed and doing all the things that Willie Mays did. And I found his dad in the stands, and his dad, who was an educator, said like it was a big deal for us to make sure that Chandler knew the history of Black baseball and where he'd come from and the torch he's carrying. And so talking to Chandler after that, it's just like so many things happening, and it all culminated in the moment where, we all have phones in our pockets. We know when news breaks at this point, and it gets spread around that way. So people generally had an idea of what was going on, but they announced it to the entire stadium, and you expected it to be a somber moment of silence, but it wasn't that. It was instead everybody standing up and giving a round of applause and tipping their caps to Willie Mays and the sign in the outfield. And it just felt so of the moment in ways that are so rare these days. Everything feels so pre-planned and packaged, and to have everybody choose joy in that moment and remember who Willie Mays was instead of choosing sadness was terrific and emblematic of this Hey kid. That's something I'll be thinking about through the rest of my baseball career and the rest of my life, to be honest with you. I mean, that was just an incredible moment to be there for. Number 2 is much sillier. For me, it's the Jersey Diners introduction. Because it was the perfect encapsulation of something. And I say this as somebody who has grown up in the Northeast, lives in the Northeast now. But it broke through in popular culture. I had friends coming up to me and be like, so what's the deal with this Jersey Diners thing? Or like, hey, I heard you're going to Somerset. Can you get me some Jersey Diners stuff? Or like, I'll be wearing my Jersey Diners hat, because of course I bought one soon after they were on sale. And people were like, oh, what's the coffee cup on your head? And I'm like, well, I'm very happy to tell you. And they're like, oh, that makes all the sense in the world. That's such a great idea. Somerset, the Patriots did a tremendous job of that, tapping into something that is prideful for the area, but not just North Jersey, anywhere in the Northeast. If you grew up going to a diner, I grew up going to Friendly's on Sunday mornings, diner-esque. We all know that feeling. We all have something to tie that to, and then to bring it to the ballpark was really special. And they knocked it out of the park between the designs, the logos that they used, the secondaries, the primaries, the stuff they did at the ballpark where you could get punch cards at the different diners too. It was just really well done. So hopefully that's a template that other organizations take, not necessarily just with diner stuff, but anything in your area that is going to hit super hard, take advantage of it. And then number 3 for me is the Portland Sea Dogs episode we had of the show before the show. It was part of the MLB Pipeline Game of the Month. I went up to Portland, Maine, in part because it was such a loaded Sea Dogs team at the time. Marcelo Meyer was there. Roman Anthony was there. Kyle Teal was there, obviously now back in the news because he was traded from the Red Sox to the White Sox, but just a really, really loaded team. So I got up there, talked to a few of those guys. But it was an opportunity to do a Pipeline Game of the Month with our friend Josh Jackson. And nobody understands Portland Sea Dogs baseball or Maine sports more than Josh. And a personal highlight was, we're trying to figure out, let's give the people a ballpark tour. And I was thinking of all the things we could do and what we could ask the Sea Dogs to get away with. And one of the things was like, hey, maybe they'll let us use the lighthouse, which is in center field. And Josh was like, do you think they would? And you could just see he was like 11 years old again in the best possible way. And they did. And we got to shoot Josh in front of the lighthouse post game. And they did it on command. They had to do it a few times because we flubbed some of the stuff, but getting to see a ballpark that Josh knows really well through his eyes and getting to share that with all of you. We recorded a post game segment on a bench in the middle of a park that overlooked the harbor. Kind of reminiscent of our Coney Island episode a few years ago.
Yeah, right on the pier.
Yeah, we're just always looking over our shoulder and like, is this weird that we're just talking, but it's a podcast in the middle of Portland, Maine. No, not really. This is part of our jobs. And it's incredible that it's part of our jobs. And so to share that with Josh was really special. And a bonus one I'll throw on top of here, Tyler, because this is one we share, and I assume it would be on your list if it wasn't a 50-50 proposition, is getting to do a game with you in the West Coast League, the All-Star game with you and Ryan Roland Smith. I mean, that's something that's been on our list for a long time before I even got the chance to start doing color commentary on MLB Network broadcasts. And then to just be like, oh, here's something I don't have to worry about chemistry whatsoever. I don't have to worry about what's going to come out of his mouth. You didn't have to worry about what was going to come out of my mouth, if it was going to be well researched or thought through or analytical. And it was just, that game flew by, and then it ended on a walk-off. And a walk-off infield hit that scored a runner from second base and sent everybody in Bellingham going nuts. So that's another one I'm going to carry with me for a long time. But hopefully it's just the first of many. Like, that's just it'll be special because it's our first, but that doesn't mean it has to be the only one.
Bellingham, Washington just awarded the 2025 West Coast League All-Star game.
I may have brought that up as a
by
hint
the
to
way,
everybody listening. Of like, we are available to do that again.
Just putting it out there. That was a pretty awesome night. And all right, my three. One of them is a fairly recent one. Just within the last 2 months, we put out an episode of the Show Before the Show podcast in which I got to kind of take a journey back through our history as a show, and we put out an episode that featured not all, but a lot of participants in this year's Major League Baseball playoffs who had been on the Show Before the Show podcast back when they were in the minor leagues. And it was really, really cool to go back and listen to so many interviews with so many of those guys making such big impacts. Alec Boehm and Pete Alonso and Will Smith and all of these different prospects who at the time were guys who were just kind of trying to make it and figure out what the next steps were going to look like in their careers, and then made it to the big leagues, and obviously have had some huge impacts ever since then. In getting their teams to the World Series, winning World Series, being such a foundational part of what makes Major League Baseball great and exciting and fun right now. And that was really cool. My second one for this year is one that's kind of away from the on-field stuff, at least in terms of, the Major League or minor league season. But I was lucky enough to do 4 Home Run Derby X events this year. Actually, just 3 Home Run Derby X events this year. But 4 in total this year were at minor league ballparks. I did 3 of those: Fort Wayne, Albuquerque, and Nashville. We had a 4th one in Durham, North Carolina, in which Tyler Zickel, the radio voice of the Vancouver Canadians, was the play-by-play guy for that one. But it was really cool to experience minor league communities in ways that were not just minor league baseball games. And those fans showed up in monster ways in Fort Wayne, Albuquerque, Nashville. I know Durham was the same way. It was really, really cool to see a completely different baseball event take hold of cities and of ballparks that way. And that was super fun. And beyond that, one thing that, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge a design thing or rebranding thing. I like that we're moving in a direction of kind of a little bit more simplicity when it comes to rebrands and some interesting new design tactics and styles. The Columbus Clingstones coming out this year with a logo and color scheme that I really enjoy. The Oklahoma City Comets, I really love that new name. There have been more of those, obviously, this offseason, but I like the direction in which we're headed, kind of maybe moving the pendulum swinging in a different way than it has been for the last 10 or 15 years, just because that's the way design eras go. Everything is sort of cyclical, and I like seeing what people more creative and more talented than me can think up for new teams or rebranding teams and all that. And I have an honorable mention, sort of along the same lines as what Sam was saying. I was going to bring up the West Coast League All-Star game as well, but since Sam already did, I finally, after so many years of really wanting to get this assignment, I finally was able to elbow my way into doing the AAA National Championship game this year alongside our very own Jim Callis, and that was an absolute blast. Jim and I had so much fun. We got to eat amazing donuts on the air on national television. We had a really fun and offense-heavy game in Las Vegas between between Sugarland and Omaha, and it was just a blast. It was a game that I've thought about doing for a really long time, and obviously it's found a home on MLB Network in recent years, and that was so much fun to finally get to do that and to bring the championship game at the highest level of minor league baseball to fans across the country. And it was a fun year. This was a very fun year. It's when you look back on it, it's kind of like, oh yeah, all of that happened in 2024. And we're so lucky to get a chance to do this from year to year. And we had a lot of fun moments in 2024. Chat GPT be damned.
Honestly, like the Jersey Diners thing felt like it happened 5 years ago when I was trying to think of like what happened this year.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that really was this year, man.
Looking at all the different alternate identities that were nominated this year, kind of felt that way. You know, Spokane's with the King Carls, and there were so many, you know, Jersey, like you said, there were so many different identities that it felt like, oh yeah, we talked about that in 2022. And it's like, wait a minute, that was this
Yeah,
year?
I mean that stuff got released probably in January,
Yeah.
and feels like a long time ago now when we were first talking about it, almost a year. And you know, it occurred to me, Chat GPT didn't just omit you as the main guy from the podcast. We have a literal main guy.
We do.
Josh Jackson is
Yeah.
the main guy on this podcast.
He's the only one who gets his own dedicated segment every week, and he wasn't even mentioned. Which again,
And-
I'm sure Josh is also happy with that. Josh,
Yeah, and
knowing
he's a
Josh's
main
feelings about
guy.
technology as I do, he is our main guy with an E. And we're gonna hear from him coming up.
Yeah, and he wrote an article about the main guides once.
Right.
He did. He was on the
And
show to
did-
talk about it.
Yeah,
and
was he
I
not?
believe also did a ghost episode about the main guides, didn't he? Or did
He
he?
might have. He probably mentioned them in some.
It might have been.
context.
So I assume everybody he picks like played for the main guides for half a summer at some point.
I
He's
feel
just
like
going
he
through
did,
his own old press guides.
because I remember I try vaguely to connect the background music of Ghosts to the era that Josh is discussing, and I remember he did an episode regarding a team in the 80s, and I was like, what music am I going to use for that? I can't just like bring out a commercial track from 1983. So I had to find some weird, you know, rights-free 80s sounding music. I think that was the main guides. Might have to go back into the archives and dig that out. But it was a fun year. 2024 was a very fun year.
Yeah, no, and this is a good way of recapping it, and also when you remember of like how long it's been and how much has happened, it's a good way of kind of as we turn the page to 2025 of like something's going to happen in January that we don't know about yet that we are going to talk about throughout all of next year. I mean that's nuts to think about, but
It's going to be me and Josh going Office Space on the Chat GPT computer. I assume it's just
I
one.
would welcome it.
I assume it's just one computer. We're gonna.
I don't welcome our robot overlords, but I welcome you attacking the robot overlords.
Sucks for you and Ben because they know your name.
Yeah.
So there. All right. We have so much more to get to on this week's episode of the show. Before the show, we're going to step aside for a quick timeout and talk about some news and notes and items from the world of minor league baseball coming up next.
Come to DSW for the shoes, stay for the fun. Because, let's be honest, if shoe shopping isn't fun, are you even doing it right? So go ahead, try something new. Try something different. Good different. Try something that feels like you. You know, the real you. And then definitely brag about it later. Because at DSW, you've got unlimited freedom to play. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget at DSW stores or at DSW.com. Let us surprise you.
You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
All right, you guys, it's time to talk about some current events, if you will. We are going to start. We got one on-field and one off-field topic, and the off-field topic is where we're going to start. And the note that we have in our summary for the episode this week just says, Ben's going to talk about Mitch Myers in Lansing, a prospect in the Oakland A's organization, a 12th round pick from 2021. And the description is just, quote, really good at Super Monkey Ball video game. So I really want to know what this story is.
Yeah, that's really all I got. I mean, that's what the
That's
story's
it.
about.
Moving on to no, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, this is, as you guys know, and as I know some of the listeners know, I got a lot of material on the road and did not get to a lot of it. And I've been using this off season so far to populate my newsletter with a lot of articles that I just hadn't gotten around to. And so I was in Lansing towards the end of my road trip season in kind of later August. And that game ended up getting rained out. But I had asked Jesse Goldberg Strassler, their longtime broadcaster, friend of the show, hey, I'm always looking for stories. Any interesting angles on any of these guys? And he says, Mitch Myers is really good at monkey ball. And I'm just like, I don't know what monkey ball is. And, but yeah, sure, I'll talk to him about it. So I interviewed Mitch Myers, a pitcher, a native of Lynette, Alabama, went to the University of Pittsburgh, obviously now in the A's system, about monkey ball. And it's a pretty ridiculous story. And I tried to write it, obviously, in a lighthearted way. But he said he's number 2 in the world, or at least had been number 2 in the world at one of the monkey ball mini games. And let me get his description of monkey ball up, because I'd never heard of it. And looking at my own notes. Yeah. Monkey ball. It's a video game that came out with GameCube, said Myers. Basically, the original games are stages. You're a little monkey in a ball. You roll around the stage and there's obstacles, tilts and stuff, and you have to get to the goal. So he is a monkey ball obsessive. And he says there are a bunch of mini games. You go online and try to get the top score you can. With Monkey Target, you're still the monkey. You go on a big ramp. You open up, you got wings, you control your way through the air, and you land on a target. So that's what I was number 2 in the world at doing. Who else gets baseball content like this? Writing in January about talking to a guy in the summertime for 7 minutes about monkey ball.
It's because you're paid off by Big Nintendo.
Yeah.
To write
Big
about their
Super
influencers.
Monkey Ball.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he mentioned some other teammates who are good. And maybe Sam, you can talk about Jake Waters, who was recently traded to Tampa Bay.
Oh yeah, Jacob Waters.
Jacob Waters. He
yeah,
said
well,
We don't want any baseball breakdown, though. You have to break down only Super Monkey Ball content.
yeah,
I know he's great at generating ground balls. So maybe that helps. I don't know. He spends his.
but he and Mitch Myers were roommates
All
at
right,
one point.
I'll allow
it. Those two were roommates and played a lot of monkey ball together. He also says Danny Bautista, technically Danny Bautista Jr., was really good, and a pitcher who eventually ended up going back down to Stockton, Class A from High A Lansing, Jose DiCochia, might have been the second best player at monkey ball. So read my newsletter, subscribe to the Baseball Traveler newsletter, and you can read about Mitch Myers and how he's a monkey ball virtuoso.
I love your kicker quote here, which is anything that starts out where I can hear the baseball player saying it out loud is great. It's him saying, "Shoot, man, it's not a super mainstream game."
Yeah.
I can kind of see him just being like, who the heck is interviewing me about this?
Yeah, I asked him some ridiculous questions. I asked if there should be a welcome sign in Lynette, Alabama, where he's from, saying home of Mitch Myers, monkey ball champion. And he was like, yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll write a letter.
I'm not that important, man.
The population,
Mitch Myers,
by the
I hope
way,
you liked the story. I bet you forgot about our conversation, but now in January, you're like, wait, there's an article on MLB.com about this from this dude I talked to.
He's gonna get so many challengers now.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you think you're Mr. Monkey Ball?
Yeah, the monkey ball message boards are gonna light up. Like, listen, this guy says he's number 2 in the world at the monkey target mini game. Let's see it. Let's see it, buddy.
population of Lynette, Alabama is only like 6,500, by the way. So I feel like it could, there's like some famous athletes. The 48th governor of Alabama, a guy named Fob James. He's from there. But like, I feel like, that seems probably as good as anything else to put a sign up for.
Yeah. Home of Fob and Mitch Myers.
Was there any video game you guys could think you would like rank globally in?
Not even close.
No, not really. But I will say there's a game that I spend a decent amount of time on my phone it's called Judge. And it's an umpiring game, if you can believe it, from Japan. It's called Judge! And you have to like call balls and strikes and outs. And it is so dumb and so entertaining. I don't think I'd be like internationally ranked, but I think I'm decent at Judge! Okay. Everything baseball related over there has to have an exclamation point. Like the NPB's official logo has an exclamation point in it. Yeah, so maybe Judge.
There was a
But I don't
game
think so.
do you guys remember candystand.com?
No.
After
What?
my time, sure.
Yeah, I was
It-
gonna say, obviously, it's for something that people born in the '90s are all about.
I mean, it's very possible. But it was full of flash games. If you can remember flash games, do the kids
Yeah.
play flash games anymore? Uh, and it was run by one of the candies. Like they bought it. It was just called Candy Stand, and then they bought it. They had remember Pogo.com? That was like another one. No,
Nope.
none of this is okay. Anyways, they had this game where you would race downhill. I think it was based in San Francisco, maybe. You would race downhill in roller skates. And for whatever reason, I would be consistently number 2 or number 3 on the leaderboard for the entire internet. And I'm pretty sure
Wow.
it's because nobody played that game.
Yeah, you were number 2 or number 3 out of 2 or 3.
Yeah.
You're the worst player.
You're actually the worst.
You thought you were great, Sam. Everybody else on that screen was computer generated. It was Chat GPT generated way early on.
Yeah, that was my introduction to the robots of Chat GPT. Is them
Jerks.
filling out the leaderboard.
All right, well, let's talk about an on-field topic, and that is a deal that went down. I don't know if any of you heard, but Juan Soto did not sign with the New York Yankees. And so the New York Yankees went out wheeling and dealing. They acquired Devin Williams in a trade. Caleb Durbin is the name going the other way that Sam wants to discuss. Caleb Durbin, Sam, coming off of a good season. Tell us about Caleb Durbin and what fans should know coming out of that Devin Williams trade with the Airbender headed to the Bronx.
It was really interesting because that trade went down, I believe, on Friday last week, which was the day our last episode comes out. We traditionally come out on Fridays. And I had interviewed Michael Mark Antonini, who was our guest, former communications coordinator in the Arizona Fall League, broadcaster with the Aberdeen Ironbirds. And we talked about like, who are your standouts in the AFL? And he brought up Caleb Durbin without knowing that a day later, Caleb Durbin was going to be traded from the Yankees to the Brewers. Anybody who followed the AFL will know that Durbin led the AFL in stolen bases this year with 29, and that was the Arizona Fall League record. It broke a record that had stood, I think, close to 30 years. And 30 years ago, the Fall League used to play 50 games. Now it's only 30 games. So the fact that he said it was really interesting and fascinating, and spoke to not necessarily his speed, although he's like above average to plus speed if you time him on a stopwatch, but just his base running acumen. I think he was 29 for 30 in steal attempts. The guy just knew when to go. He picked his spots incredibly well. So he's kind of the perfect brewer. That's something that a lot of writers and evaluators have said. He fits right into that mold with like a Sal Frelick or a Bryce Terang, guys who use their speed well, doesn't hit for a ton of power, had a broken wrist last year, and that might have affected his power a little bit, but it was pretty close to like bottom of the barrel when you look at his exit velocities, although he did hit double-digit homers, and then I think he added 5 more in the Fall League. So he got it to play. He does pretty good at lifting the ball and sending it out to left. He's a utility player right now. He's got some time at second base, shortstop, third base. They've even tried him out in center and left, allowed him to roam in the New York organization when he got some time on the grass. I think he's more likely a second baseman. But it looks like if I were the Brewers, I would keep Bryce Terang at second base. He might be the best defensive second baseman in the game right now. Andres Jimenez is right there with him. Move Joey Ortiz, who they acquired last year in the Corbin Burns deal, from third base to shortstop and go get a third baseman, and let Caleb Durbin be your utility man who can fill a bunch of holes, come off the bench, provide some speed, be a pinch runner at certain situations. And he's also really good at putting the ball in play. His in-zone contact is exceptionally good. He hits all pitch types really well. It's just not with a lot of impact. So if you need a hit in a situation, like it's second and third with 1 out in the 8th inning, Caleb Durbin could be that guy to at least give you a chance to bring that run in home. So we'll see what the Brewers are going to do. He seems to fit their mold really well. They know what to do with those types of players, especially well. It seemed like Pat Murphy was excited to add him into the fold. You heard Aaron Boone at one point this offseason. It felt like smoke at the time, and it especially feels like smoke now that they traded him. But the Yankees were banding about making Durbin their starting second baseman going into 2025. Obviously, that's not the case now. They traded him for a rental reliever. So that really tells you more about his prospect status. We have him at number 15 right now on the Milwaukee list. When I updated, I expect him to still be around there. He's a major league ready bat. He's going to be 25 going into next year. So on the older side of prospectum. But like I said, the Brewers know what to do with speedy, high contact types, and Caleb Durbin fits that description perfectly.
I'm sorry if I zoned out for a moment, but he's 5'6".
He is 5'6". I did not say that. Yeah, he is very short, which is part of the reason why I think you've seen him move around a lot. He doesn't really have the arm for the left side of the infield. He's gotten a decent amount of time at third base. It's an accurate arm, but it's not a strong arm. So I think that's also a big reason why he has such good contact ability, because his zone isn't very big. So he can really hone in on a smaller area compared to somebody who was his former organization mate in Aaron Judge, right? Like Aaron Judge has a big zone to cover, or Spencer Jones, making another Yankees prospect, big zone to cover. It can be a little bit more difficult to make contact when you compact that zone like Caleb Durbin does through no fault of his own, just his regular size. It makes that easier, and he takes well advantage.
Yeah, 5'6", 185 is built in the Ben's Biz mode.
See, you too could be a hitter, Ben.
Yeah. Hey, I'm 5'8", but whatever.
I was going to say you're taller than 5'6".
So that's what's going on around the baseball world. We don't anticipate a ton of stuff coming up next week, but you never know. There could always be a big late-breaking signing, trade, something. We'll keep you updated as things do come along. But we're not going anywhere yet on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. Josh Jackson stops by with Ghosts of the Minors, and then we are back to wrap it up on the other side.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you another thrilling edition of Ghosts of the Minors. Now, here's your correspondent and host, Joshua Jackson.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Minors, in which all of you out there in Radio Land must identify the legitimate historical ball club or player hiding amidst the fraudulent pair. One once took to the fields of our neighbor to the north. The others could never be found anywhere. In the last segment, I asked you which of the following minor league baseball teams did at one time exist. A, the Montreal Moonrakers. B, the Winnipeg Goldeyes. C, the Halifax Octopuses. You've done Her Majesty a service if you picked B, the Winnipeg Goldeyes, who glimmered and gleamed in the Northern League of the 1950s and 60s, and who are still honored with a team of the same name in independent ball today. The Goldeyes represented Canada's gateway to the West and took their moniker from a fork-tailed freshwater fish which resides in Lake Winnipeg. Which resides in Lake Winnipeg. The Goldeyes of baseball resided on the well-trod territory of the city of Winnipeg, not to be confused with the well-trout territory that is Lake Winnipeg. Pro baseball in that Manitoba burg went way back to the early days of the 20th century, with the Winnipeg Maroons establishing a colorful history in both official minor leagues and outlaw leagues.
What a maroon.
When the Goldeyes floated up in 1954, the Northern League's new Winnipeg franchise was under a working agreement with the National League's St. Louis Cardinals. Those inaugural Goldeyes schooled the rest of the circuit in attendance. Fans were hooked, lured out by the promise of good baseball. But the Goldeyes perched out at third place in the standings, and in the playoffs were left seeing double by the Fargo-Moorhead Twins. In a few years' time, though, Winnipeg took them all down a peg, claiming league championships in 1957 and then winning 2 straight titles in 59 and 60. In that last championship year, the Goldeyes had golden performances from Joe Patterson and Johnny Lewis, who led the league with 23 homers and 104 RBIs. But in the batting race, neither of them could catch up to a 19-year-old catcher for the Eau Claire Braves. This up-and-comer by the name of Joe Torre posted a .344 average. In '64, the Goldeyes had a gold arm. Steve Carlton pitched 12 games for Winnipeg on his way to a Major League debut with the Cardinals in '65. Carlton was no fluke. That guy carved up the strike zone with the precision of a sturgeon. But things were beginning to smell fishy for the Goldeyes, and by '65 they were belly up as the team owners withdrew and the Northern League scaled down. They resurfaced again in '68, but the down-and-trout team was in sink-or-swim mode the whole time, and swim it did not. And that's how Winnipeg lost a beat. Now, on to the question for next time. Which of these players had an air of continental crowd control in the minors of yesteryear? A. Dutch doorman. B. French bouncer. C. Roman Security. Want to know the answer? Play it safe. Or tune in to the next Goes to the Minors. But for now, you'll have to excuse me. My producer Ben Hill is decorating a tree, and the park rangers are asking questions.
Our final segment on this week's episode of the show before the show. Big thanks to Josh Jackson for stopping by on this week's episode, as always. Before we get out of here, we have our first ever fan-submitted show before the show dude for Name That Dude. And I'm very excited about that. We have been throwing out for the last several episodes, like, hey, if you have a dude who you want us to cover on the show before the show, send him along to us. Now, that being said, you can only send it to one of us because otherwise the other two are going to see it. We're going to know. So I got a message from Kevin Rudnicki, fan of the podcast, on Instagram. And Kevin, who appears, by the way, to own a side business in which he repairs, relaces, and does baseball glove care, which is very cool. Kevin messaged me on Instagram, and he said, I have a request for Name That Dude. I'm an amateur senior baseball player, senior in quotes, because I don't think he's that old, in Buffalo, New York, and recently went to Arizona to play in the, I'm assuming, Men's Senior Baseball League World Series, MSBL World Series. We made it to the semis and lost, but we got to face former MLBer blank, who did spend some time playing on his own hometown Buffalo Bisons. Would love to see you use him on Name That Dude. So here we go. I am going to preface this by saying I'll be really impressed if you guys get this dude, because he's a name that you'll remember, but not really a name that you're like, oh, how could I have forgotten this dude? So here we go. Not a high draft selection. He was originally taken in the 1995 MLB draft out of Hayward High School in Hayward, California by the Texas Rangers in the 39th round. Now, he did not sign. He went to college, and he was drafted 2 years later in the 26th round of the 1997 draft out of Pima College by the Baltimore Orioles. Making his climb through the minor leagues, he actually did not start in the Orioles organization, nor did he start in 1997. So I'm assuming, I don't have the details on this, but I am assuming that he decided to forego that draft selection and instead signed the next year. He debuted in 1998 in the minor leagues with the then Watertown Indians, the New York Penn League, in the then Cleveland Indians organization. Following year, he was in the Pittsburgh Pirates system, and he started to make his climb. He was with then the New York Penn League's Williamsport Crosscutters, a Class A short season. Then he was with the High A Lynchburg Hillcats in the Indians organization, or in the Pirates organization, I should say. The next season, he was at Hickory, which was then Class A in the Pirates system, the Crawdads. He made the climb back to Lynchburg, and he reached Double A Altoona for the first time. Following year, 2001, in the Pirate system, he was again at Lynchburg and again at Altoona. Year after that, 2002, he was again at Lynchburg. So he's 25 years old pitching in the Carolina League. But the following year, in 2003, I assume he was a Rule 5 selection because, having not pitched above Double A, he was in the big leagues. And he was there with the Kansas City Royals. He was taken, by the way, in the 2002 Rule 5 draft. So in 2003, made it up to the big leagues with the Royals. He spent the entire season up at the major league level, pitched in 50 games, made a couple of starts. He was back in the big leagues in 2004 and 2005, both of the Royals. 2006, he took a little career detour and he went over to Japan. Now, he did not spend a lot of time over there. He pitched only 3 games at the big league level for the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks in the Pacific League of Japan's major league level Nippon Professional Baseball. 2007, he's back in an affiliated organization. He pitched in 34 games and made 22 starts for AAA Tucson in the D-backs organization. Obviously, by now, everybody's aware he's a pitcher. That offseason, he pitched for La Guaira in the Venezuelan Winter League, and then he returned to the big leagues in 2008 and spent the next 5 years in the majors. He was with the White Sox. He was back with the Pirates. He was with the D-backs. Those were both in 2010, the Pirates and the D-backs. And then 2011 and 2012, he was with the New York Mets. He pitched in 42 games for the 2011 Mets, made one start, largely worked in, kind of low leverage situations. He finished 15 games, but he had an ERA of 6.02. Then just 4 appearances in 2012. And after that was pretty much done with baseball. That was his age 35 season. Does anybody have a guess yet?
No.
Okay. Now, I will tell you this, and I don't know if this is going to get it across. But he shares a last name, though he is not related to a guy who his first name is Carlos. He is from Barquisimeto, Venezuela, and he is still pitching as of the present time. He has spent most of his career with the Cleveland Indians / Guardians, but he did spend 2021 to 2023 in the New York Mets organization at the big league level with the Mets. Not
all right, so it's Cookie Carrasco.
So he shares the last name with that guy.
Carrasco. I don't remember many other. Hector?
I know. That's the thing.
Yeah. Hector Carrasco is like immediately where my mind went to.
It is not. They're just initials. Anybody? Okay, ready? Ready for this answer?
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I remember that. DJ Carrasco.
Okay.
DJ Carrasco. And the reason, obviously, that Kevin submitted this is because they faced DJ Carrasco, who is now 47 years old and still pitching, working in a men's senior ball league. And he said, Kevin said, he mowed down my team in a 40-plus tournament. We were averaging 13 runs and 17 hits a game in this tournament before seeing him. He shut us out, gave up 5 hits, struck out 15, and didn't walk anybody. Like, that is the line between, like, guys who can still kind of sling it a little bit or hanging on, pitching in just, like, fun adult men's leagues and, like, a former big leaguer. Like, I'm just going to go out, shove. I faced a dude in my 30-plus men's league this year who pitched, like, 1 year of affiliated ball and nobody could touch him. Like, it's just such a different level. DJ Carrasco, like, you don't think of him as like, oh yeah, that was a guy he was constantly, pitching in key innings for postseason teams and whatever, but he still can just dominate people, and that's amazing to me. DJ Carrasco.
One thing that gets overlooked in all this, I think sometimes is like, oh, he's 45, but he can still sling it and is blowing by guys. You know what he's probably doing? He's outthinking everybody.
Yes, that's the other thing too, is it's like
that doesn't go away.
No, exactly. He's got, essentially almost 30 years of learning how to do this at the highest levels, and he knows how to beat you before you step into the box,
Yeah, he can read your swing. If you're jumping a little too early, it's like, oh, well,
exactly.
He's clearly sitting fastball. You're getting only breaking balls.
But a guy who
throwing 72, like
I would not have really remembered having an 8-year big league career over a decade, because he spent some time overseas and spent some time back down in the minor leagues. He also served as a pitching coach in the D-backs or in the Mets organization for a little while. So he's been around baseball all this time ever since. And it's like very cool to know that there are still guys out there who are like, I still want to do this because I love it. I like those guys.
Yeah. Now, the guy who submitted this, what did you say his last name was?
Rudnicki, Rudnicki.
Oh, okay. Because it just felt uncanny to me, because when I just tried to think of a random player name before we started, as I often do, I hit on Ron Renneke, who was like a utility player for the Phillies when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And I think his brother Gary was in the major leagues as well. So then I thought when you started that it was a Renneke maybe. And I was like, whoa. But
Ron
no.
Renneke, that would have been amazing if that was Ron Renneke, also a longtime coach who I believe is working in the Dodgers organization now. I think just
he managed
like
the
one
Red
of those,
Sox for a bit and the Brewers.
Oh, right.
Yeah, longtime manager. I think now has like one of those special assistant roles in the Dodger system, or at least had in recent years. That was a good one. I enjoy when we get people who listen all the way through the end of the show. Like if you name that dude, you've been tuned in all the way through the end, and I appreciate that. It's not just like, all right, Ghosts is done. I'm going to put this episode in the bag, whatever. I appreciate that. So Kevin, thanks for getting in touch.
Well, I just have to take one moment to say, like, this isn't the first time this has happened. Kenny Van Doren is a coworker.
He's a coworker.
You know,
he is a listener, and that's
I
where he
count him
heard
as a
it.
fan.
Right. This is our first
I just want to make sure
non-affiliated.
Kenny doesn't feel
right.
Whenever
right.
Sam talks about Kenny in the office, he says, "Oh, my fan Kenny,
our fan."
My fan."
Yeah.
Hey, wasn't that our fan?
Yeah.
Well, awesome stuff from Kevin and hey, from DJ Carrasco as well. Keep slinging it, man. Keep on dominant. It's got to be a great feeling too, where it's like, yeah, I might be out of the big leagues. I might be a little bit aged out of this sport, at least in the professional ranks, but I can still just shove in a baseball game. That's got to be pretty cool.
That competitive
I've never had
juice
that
doesn't
feeling.
go anywhere. You know?
Yeah, exactly. So that'll do it for this week's episode of the show before the show. We're off next week. It's the holidays. It's the holiday season.
We're going to be off until 2025.
Yeah.
I mean, this is our last segment of our last episode of the 2024 year. So.
Unless there's some monster like, here's Mike Trout to the Marlins or, something that just makes everyone's brain explode. We're going to be off until 2025. Dudes, what are the holiday plans for you guys? Sam, you're going home to Massachusetts.
I will be going home. Yes, I will be going home to Massachusetts, and we will see what comes.
Listening to Noah Khan, constantly drinking some cider. Is it still cider though for Christmas time? Do you still go with the cider?
I mean, I go with it as like we'll say a nighttime beverage.
Okay.
Like a warm cup of cider with a little bit of extra, bourbon in there is my drink of choice.
Yep. Okay.
But no, I don't think that's like a traditional wassail. Did you guys ever have wassail?
There's that song. Here we go. A wassailing.
Yeah, wassail is essentially cider, I think.
Yeah.
I don't have that either, but like I know that is a traditional Christmas time appley drink. But no, otherwise, I'll drink whatever's around.
Benjamin Hill, you are increasingly getting to celebrate Christmas with a tiny human in your house who like gets it more and more from year to year. That's got to be fun.
Yeah, that'll be the best part of Christmas for me. I mean, we're doing some family visits, PA, Massachusetts, but it's having a kid who's turns 4 in February is he's just so into Christmas, he loves decorations, just like walking around, pointing out decorations, the inflatables, like it's all the cliches, but it's just Christmas is a lot of fun when you have like a little kid and you think about the time frame in which one believes in Santa and sorry, I hope Santa's real in case there's any like kids
it goes
listening.
till 0 to
Well, you mean believes before knows the truth?
Yes, believes before they meet him and know for a fact that he's real. Yeah, there's only maybe 5 or 6 years of that where you're old enough to get it a little bit but then where you're young enough just to be open about it, and so I think these are going to be great years.
Tyler, what are you doing?
Headed to Texas. Gonna go see the wife's family for a couple days. We're going to see her brother and sister-in-law at their place with their 2 little girls. We'll do that until Christmas Eve, and then we go to Beth's parents have a place kind of in the middle of nowhere in Texas where we'll hang out for a few days, which will be super fun. And then back here, my college football team is playing in a bowl game for the first time in like 1,000 years at Yankee Stadium, in fact. So I'm very excited about that. So I'll probably watch that and rip my hair out. At least the good news is like I can watch them lose a 13-9 game at home for free. Like I'm not flying out there and wasting my money to do it. So, but that'll be fun. And we'll have some beverages here as well. I'm an eggnog guy with the bourbon. I know it's a very controversial take, but I am.
I mean, that's fine. You deserve to enjoy the holiday season however you choose. Every time I think of eggnog, though, I think about Cousin Eddie in Christmas Vacation.
I have one of those glasses, like the moose glass. My sister
100%,
bought me one of those. Yeah. That's
eggnog has never looked better than it does in Cousin Eddie's hands.
It's good. I'll probably drink it out of that tonight. Well, from all of us to all of you, our most heartfelt wishes for an amazing holiday season, whether you celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah or anything else. Festivus is coming up here in a few days. I got to get my pole out of the crawl space. Whatever you celebrate, the happiest of that to you, and a happy new year as well. And for the two hosts of the Show Before the Show podcast, Sam Dykstra and Benjamin Hill, Josh Jackson, and all the rest as well. My name is Tyler Maughan, and we'll catch you in 2025.